This whole year, just to catch everybody up, I've been subjecting you to my reflections on a book. The book is called Life After Doom. We did it as a book study back in the winter. Life After Doom, it's called, the tagline is Wisdom and Courage for a World Falling Apart. And I have good news for you. We're almost done. We'll be done before Advent. But I just wanted to take you back sort of on the journey that we've come so far. And if you have any interest in going back, all the sermons in this series are on our YouTube page. So as part of our journey through this book, we've been journeying around what Brian McLaren, the author, calls the U theory of change. And I think we have an image of that here. So where we started with sort of this idea of changing us, changing our world, is there's different places along the road. And so first we started with letting go, the path of descent, and the path of just letting go of what we thought the world could be or what we know to be. And then moving to a place of letting be, a place of insight where our eyes are opened. And then we've moved through letting come this early fall, a path of resilience where we learn how to build ourselves for a new world and for new change. And last, we were coming to this final stage, setting free, the path of engagement. And for those of you who've been wondering all along, Ruben, what are we to do about this world falling apart? I want to do something. This is the section for you. So we begin this path of engagement today by what I'm calling stopping to smell the roses. You can take that down now. We took the first part of the service today to acknowledge the beauty of our world. We did that in prayer. We did that in song, and we did that through our scriptures, that nice long psalm about God's world and how God breathes life into it. And I feel that's something important to do in a world that is falling apart, and especially on a day like Thanksgiving Sunday, when we are invited to give thanks for all that we have. Truly, there is much beauty to behold in our world, much to be thankful for. As McLaren writes in his book, his chapter is entitled Beauty Abounds. And that is so true. Yet despite that truth, the reality is we don't always see beauty around us, right? More commonly, we tend to focus on the ugliness in our world rather than the beauty, let alone just stopping to appreciate the beauty. We focus on the ugliness. And I want to say, if you feel like, I see ugliness all around me in our world, I don't think it's not your fault. Because the reality is, with our phones and our TVs, with social media and the 24-hour news doom cycle, we have this front row seat to all the ugliness that's happening in our world, more so than we ever did. And so there's just this availability of ugliness that's around us. But it's not just the availability of it that sort of draws us in. There's something almost addictive about it. McLaren describes giving attention to the ugliness as this, he calls it a strange high. And this is what he writes. He says, each time I indulged in the ugliness, that's like reading the news or like going online, he says, I fanned the flames of something unhealthy, my moral superiority or resentment or fear or despair or desolation or us versus them hostilities. This is the high that he's talking about. Have you ever felt that ugly high? It's kind of why I'm not on Facebook very much anymore. It's too easy to get sucked into just the doom and the gloom of it all. And it can be addictive, whether you're doom scrolling on your phone or rage tweeting or hate watching, trolling, or many of us who just hunker down in our echo chamber so that we can be reinforced in our own views. And it's kind of like, as they say about a car crash. It's hard to look away. It's so horrible, we just can't seem to look away. And that's a lot of how the ugliness operates in our world. And that's the challenge we have to face when it comes to seeing beauty in our world. There's always 100 million things wanting to grab our attention, right? Recently in the book study we're doing now, we're reading Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And we were discussing what we give our attention to. And I confess to the group that I often don't feel like I give my attention to anything. I feel like my attention's forcibly taken from me, right? Everything is demanding this headline and this negative comment and this, always sort of grabbing my attention, rather than me giving my attention to the things that are beautiful. And so the question that we were discussing in the book was how to reclaim that attention. And the author suggested, she writes this, ceremonies, large and small, have the power to focus attention to a way of living awake in the world. Ceremonies, large and small, have a power to focus attention to a way of living awake in the world. And for her, in her book, it was her father offering this first pour of coffee in the morning to the ground, and in the sort of moment of gratitude for the earth. And in church, we have ceremonies too. In communion, we see the beauty of unity and fellowship. In baptism, we see the beauty of forgiveness and new life. As we bring the offering forward, we see the beauty of thanksgiving and generosity. Or in a hymn, where we see the beauty of joy and praise. And so that's what we do here on a Sunday morning. With all these types of rituals and rhythms, what we're doing is taking back our attention from the ugliness and giving it purposefully to the beauty that is all around us. This past Tuesday morning, I get an email from Ministry Forum. A friend of mine runs the Ministry Forum, and they sent out an email for continuing ed. And this week, forum email just happened to be, even before I'd chosen today's theme, he included this link to a TED Talk by Amy McNee entitled, "The World Needs Your Art." And so in that video, she makes this case why all of us, not just some of us, not just those who are creative here and those who can do art and those who can sing, but all of us need to be engaged in the activity of creativity. And this is what she argues. She says, creating reclaims our most valuable resource, which has been robbed from us, our attention. In a society, she says, that profits from you being stuck on your phone, giving your attention to art is a rebellious act. That means when you write that little piece of poetry, it isn't just a nice thing to do with your time, it is a revolutionary thing to do with your time. And she adds, making art is activism. And that got me thinking about what we do here on a Sunday morning and how really creative it is. Each week we all come together to create a worship service. It's not a worship service if just I show up. We all have a part to play. And it generally starts with a staff meeting on Tuesday. Rick and Janice and I meet around the table in my office, and we talk about the theme for the Sunday, what prayers we're going to do, anything special for that particular Sunday. And then we all go our separate ways to prepare. So Rick goes to do the music, and he practices with the choir and prepares it for the congregation. I write some prayers and write a sermon, and then Janice puts all these different slides up together with color and images. Mel puts the children's program together, and all that's happening. And then we send it out to all the people that are going to be involved in the service with leadership, to the readers and the greeters and those who are doing coffee hour and those who are going to be operating the sound booth. That all goes out so that they can prepare. And then each Sunday, we come together and each and every one of you adds your contribution, your voice, your presence, your prayers, your thoughts and actions. And all this combines into this beautiful thing we call Sunday morning worship. And I was just struck this week by what a gift it is for me to be able to create that beauty with you every week. And I was struck by what a revolutionary thing it is for us in this world to take our attention away from the worst of our world and then focus in on that which is good on a Sunday morning. And that's what McLaren argues in his book that the church should be doing. He writes that the best future I can imagine for organized religion in these dangerous times, instead of helping nostalgic people inhabit bubbles of the past, religious communities can help people go forward on this inward migration, where in defiance of a rising level of ugliness, people cultivate beauty, seeing it, creating it, savoring beauty within will lead to beautiful outward action, he says. And the Apostle Paul would also agree with Brian and with Robin and with Amy. Paul wrote this letter to the church in Philippi, and he wrote it at a time of great ugliness in his life. He was writing that letter while he was sitting in a Roman prison, places not known for their beauty. And so you have to ask this question, like Paul's letter is full of thanksgiving and joy. And you're like, how can Paul in prison be so joyful and grateful about things? And so he, in that letter, shares his secret for dealing with the ugliness that surrounds him. He writes, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable. If there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And so rather than feeding the ugliness and getting that ugly high, Paul is reminding his listeners that by the grace of God, the world is full of beauty. And when we choose to focus on that, on the things that are true and honorable and just and pure, then, he says, we will know the presence of the God of peace. Beauty abounds. McLaren ends his chapter with this beautiful image of what the future could look like in a world that is falling apart. And I love it, particularly because it involves guitars and campfires. So he writes, a few months ago, I was helping lead a retreat in the mountains of North Carolina. And on our last night together, we did something I haven't done in way too long, he writes. We had a campfire. We roasted marshmallows and passed around popcorn. And around the campfire, people shared beauty. One recited a Wendell Berry poem he had memorized. Another recited a Mary Oliver poem. A professional musician shared some songs, no amplification, just his voice and guitar over the crackling campfire. And then he handed his guitar to some amateur musicians. Several shared stories, some very touching, some very funny, some both. A few shared some jokes. Apart from the carbon released from a few oak logs, no fossil fuels were burned. No electricity was needed. We entertained each other for an evening for free. It was delightful, beautiful, one of the happiest nights I can remember. Beauty abounds, I thought. He continues, if the coming decades are anywhere near as challenging as I expect them to be, there will be a flood of ugly news to report every day. That news can dominate your life. It can drain your life, and it can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. That night around the campfire, I could imagine people gathering in small circles of beauty everywhere, on front porches, in living rooms, in forest clearings, around kitchen tables, even in church and synagogues and mosques. They wouldn't require anything, no screen or earbuds, no pipe organs and stained glass windows, no smoke machines and amplifiers, no shouting preachers or fancy lighting or excellent graphics or even electricity. Even if their governments collapsed and electric grids failed, even if the internet was monitored by authoritarian goons, even if public schools were commandeered to teach Orwellian propaganda, even then, they would gather and give one another life in 2s and 3s and 10s and 20s. They would speak truth. They would celebrate goodness. They would honor beauty, to see it as the real story, the aboriginal story, the eternal, beautiful story. They would sing songs, recite poetry, tell stories, tell jokes. They would laugh and cry and dance and sit in silence, watching the sparks rise upward. And life would be beautiful in that circle. There would be joy unspeakable in that circle, no matter what happened outside it. People of Gale, followers of beauty, that is Jesus Christ, I want to thank you on this Thanksgiving Sunday for coming today to celebrate beauty. I want to thank you for coming today to create this beauty that is this worship service. And may our time together in God's presence, God's peaceful presence, continue to inspire you as you go out to create beauty in your home, in your places of work, in your community. And through it all, may the God of beauty, may that beauty abound in you. Amen.